Have you ever wondered why some people with less seem happier than those with everything? This is the story of a man who had it all: money, cars, luxury, but lost himself in the noise, until one shocking moment stripped everything away and taught him the truth. Sometimes, having less gives you more. Lucas Grant was the kind of man everyone admired from a distance. He owned a sleek mansion on the hill, 3 cars he barely drove, and a closet full of designer suits. People called him successful, but inside, he was tired. Every day felt like a race he couldn't win. He woke up to emails, phone calls, and meetings that never ended. His coffee grew cold before he could drink it. His smile disappeared somewhere between the boardroom and the next deal. He used to believe that money was the answer to everything. He had grown up poor and promised himself he would never struggle again. And he didn't, at least. Not with money. But the more he bought, the emptier he felt. One rainy morning, Lucas was driving to work when his phone buzzed. Another message, another demand. He sighed, eyes glancing at the screen for a second, just a second before everything went black. When he opened his eyes, he was in a hospital bed. His body ached. A nurse stood nearby. "You're lucky," she said softly. "The crash could have been worse." Lucas blinked, dazed. "My car, my laptop, my phone," the nurse interrupted. "You're alive. That's what matters." For a moment, he couldn't speak. His company, his money, his meetings, none of them mattered. He realized how fragile everything was. But the true shock came later that evening when his lawyer visited. "Lucas," he said gravely, "there's been a cyber attack. The company's servers are down. Investors are panicking. You've lost almost everything." Lucas froze. "Everything?" "Almost," the lawyer repeated. "But your name's still yours." That night, Lucas sat in silence, staring at the ceiling. He had spent his whole life building walls of wealth, and in one day, they crumbled. Weeks later, Lucas returned home. The mansion felt like a museum, cold, quiet, and lifeless. He walked through the halls, running his hand along the polished walls. Every item around him, the expensive art, the imported furniture, now felt meaningless. He opened his fridge. It was full of food he never ate. He looked at his wardrobe. Rows of suits stared back at him, tags still hanging. He realized something terrifying. He had built a kingdom of things, not of meaning. And for the first time in years, he sat on the floor and cried. A few days later, Lucas went for a walk. He ended up at a small park, where he saw an old man sitting on a bench, feeding birds. The man looked up and smiled. "You look heavy, son." "Not in body and heart," Lucas sighed. "I lost everything." The man chuckled softly. "You sure? You're breathing, aren't you? Then you haven't lost what matters." Lucas frowned. "You don't understand. My company, my cars." The old man cut him off. "Things come and go. Peace stays when you stop chasing more." Those words stayed with Lucas for days. Lucas decided to try something different. He sold one of his cars, then another. He gave away half his clothes. He shut down his social media accounts and moved to a smaller home outside the city. At first, it felt strange, quiet, almost too quiet. He would reach for his phone and realize he didn't need it. He would walk outside and feel the sun on his face, something he hadn't noticed in years. He began waking up early, cooking simple meals and reading books instead of reports. Slowly, he started feeling lighter. He began helping others, mentoring young entrepreneurs, visiting shelters, and listening instead of talking. And the shocking part? Without trying, opportunities started coming back. People respected his peace. Clients returned. Investors trusted him more now than when he flaunted wealth. He had lost everything, yet somehow gained more. Months passed, and Lucas started a new venture, one built not for greed, but for growth. He called it One Less, a project promoting simple living, financial freedom, and mindful success. Instead of selling luxury, he sold learning. Instead of chasing more, he taught balance. People laughed at first. A millionaire talking about simplicity? They mocked. But Lucas didn't care. He had found his truth. Within 2 years, One Less grew into a movement. Schools, businesses, and families joined in, learning how to declutter not just homes but minds. Lucas became known as the Minimalist Millionaire, not because of his wealth, but because of his wisdom. One morning, Lucas received an invitation to speak at a global business summit. He stood before hundreds of people, CEOs, investors, influencers, the same kind of people he once tried to impress. He smiled and said, "I used to think success was what you owned, but now I know it's what you can live without." The audience went silent. He told them about his accident, his loss, his transformation, about the old man in the park, the silence that scared him, and the peace he found after giving up what didn't matter. When he finished, people stood and applauded not because of his story, but because they saw themselves in it. The man who once measured life in money now measured it in moments. Years later, Lucas lived in a small home surrounded by trees. He had one car, one closet, one key, and a heart full of peace. Every morning, he brewed his coffee, watched the sunrise, and smiled. He had fewer things, but more freedom. Fewer plans, but more purpose. Fewer possessions, but more peace. And for the first time in his life, he felt truly rich. Real wealth isn't about how much you have. It's about how little you need to live fully. The richest people aren't those with the most, but those who can find joy in the least.